House Speaker Nancy Pelosi also urging caution. But despite their calls for restraint, Representative Jim Clyburn said yesterday Democrats have already begun laying the groundwork for impeachment. So will the Dems pull the trigger on impeachment? And if so, are they shooting themselves in the collective foot? Joining me now, former Trump campaign manager and Great America PAC senior strategist. It is Corey Lewandowski. Welcome back, Corey.
Thanks for having me back.
Do you think that was the right answer from Jared Kushner, that if the Russians contacted him today, he'd probably be like, meh, that's cool?
Well, I think now it's very different. Obviously, Jared Kushner, as a government employee, probably has contact with a lot of foreign officials and doesn't have to disclose those to the FBI because it's in the course of his business. But I do think that if the campaign were contacted by an outside foreign entity who said, we want to provide dirt on Joe Biden, maybe someone from the Ukraine, perhaps, or, Bernie Sanders, someone from Russia, perhaps, where he spent his honeymoon, then I would recommend that they contact the campaign attorneys and let them deal with it, give the information over to the FBI, and let the proper authorities deal with it at that time.
That's a really good point, because I think structurally all of these campaigns are going to be very different in terms of the legal counsel and the means they have to protect themselves from future investigations, which I'm sure the president now wishes that he had better lawyers in his employ and not Michael Cohen. And I hope that they will rethink getting Oppo research from places like Russia and Albania.
Well, you would hope so. But look, again, I think there's probably plenty of opposition research out there from Joe Biden and his family's time in the Ukraine and Bernie Sanders' time in Russia. But I don't think the campaign needs it because they didn't need it the last time on Crooked Hillary. Donald Trump won the campaign without that opposition research. And the truth is, the American people know exactly what Donald Trump has delivered for them, and they'll vote to reelect him in November of 2020.
Yeah, that sounds like a talking point. Let's talk a little bit about impeachment, though, because that has become the ultimate talking point for Democrats. They're so excited about it. It's like how my kids talk about Halloween and Christmas now. And you have a bunch of them who they don't care what the outcome is. They just think if the House votes to impeach him that he's gone and Hillary is magically president, which could be very good news for President Trump because he wouldn't be removed by the Senate. So who do you think is more excited by the prospect of it, Maxine Waters or President Trump?
Well, clearly Maxine Waters is, and I hate to say this, Kenny, I can't believe I'm actually saying it. I agree with Lil Adam Schiff. I don't think that the Democrats should impeach because they know that they're not going to remove the president of the Senate. What you really have to look at are the 39 congressional districts that Donald Trump won, that also Barack Obama won. And you have to see where those members are, because the Democrat caucus is very far to the left. And Nancy Pelosi right now is playing the rational adult in the room, saying, we don't want to have this fight. If we do, we will lose the majority again. I believe that's what she's telling her members. But the caucus is so progressive, so far to the left, they're going to force her to do it. And guess what? When they do it, she will be a speaker who twice has now lost her speakership under her tenure.
I think you're right. And I think she's looking at a floppy caucus, and she knows that there is a caucus chasm that she cannot heal. So if you were Nancy, what would be your ultimate argument to convince everyone to come together?
It's very simple. Look, you can go and impeach Donald Trump and spend the next 2, 4, or 6 years in the minority, or you can not impeach Donald Trump if you're a Democrat and stay in the majority. You have a much better chance of staying in the majority to put a check and balance on the President of the United States and the Senate if you're in the majority. So you have to decide, did you enjoy being in the minority for all those years, or do you like better being in the majority? It's a very simple choice that her caucus should make, and she's smart enough to know she has a lot more influence as a Speaker of the House than the minority leader.
It's interesting because I think the president was so excited for her to become Speaker again because he thought that she might lose control. He thought that she might appear unhinged, but really in Washington, in terms of leadership, she seems to be the most adult person in the room. And I never thought I'd say that about
Nancy is a true professional. She's been in this business a long, long time. And she knows she didn't become the first Speaker of the House as a woman by accident. She knows exactly how to take care of that caucus, and she's going to keep them under control because she wants to stay the Speaker.
Get a room, you two. Corey Lewandowski, thank you very much.
Thank you.